This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of Squiz Kids. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's school holidays around the country. And while we press pause on our daily news podcast Squiz Kids today, we thought it would be a good chance to produce a few behind-the-scenes podcasts, letting you, the listener, know what we've been up to at Squiz Kids HQ. Now, as you'd know, our podcasts are usually directed squarely at kids, and this one is no exception, but it's fair to say this and the next two podcasts in this little behind-the-scenes series are also pitched at the many adults whom we know are also listening along. And the object of today's podcast is pretty simple. It's to perform a long-overdue official introduction to the amazing Amanda Bauer, explain a little about her background, and talk through her classroom companions. But more on that later. First of all, ladies and jelly beans, please join me in welcoming to the Squiz Kids mic Amanda Bauer.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you. It's very good to be here.
Now, a lot of kids, parents and teachers listening to this will have come across your voice on Squiz Kids before, but rather shamefully, I feel like we've never really properly introduced you to listeners. Amanda, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, Bryce, you and I have known each other for about 15 years, so our story goes back, way back to when you were working as a journalist here in Australia and I was working as a journalist for Time magazine in New York.
Yeah.
We knew each other through friends, through that sort of Aussie journalist network, and you were helping to edit the Women's Weekly, and you commissioned me to write a couple of stories on politics and crime, as I recall, that was happening in America.
Yes, that's right. And I should point out that you began your journalism career in WA, lest anybody is wondering why you sound so Aussie.
It's truth. I was away for 21 years, but I always called Australia home. So I did spend 10 years working as a journalist in New York and San Francisco, and then I kind of saw the light and decided that I wanted to become a primary school teacher. So that's what I did. I retrained, and then I worked as a year 3 and then a year 4 teacher in the Bay Area of San Francisco.
And, of course, when you said you were heading home, I knew that we needed to nab you for Squiz Kids, and we are so happy that we did. And the reason,
me too.
the reason, of course, we wanted to get you on board the Squiz Kids ship so badly was because we were launching a new product for educators called Squiz Kids For Schools, a program that uses news and current affairs to help teach the Australian primary school curriculum. And your combination of journo and teacher background made you the perfect fit.
I think someone has called me a unicorn, in fact, which I really like.
I may well have called you the unicorn in this space, indeed. So you can put that on your business cards. But can you first of all tell us a little bit about Squiz Kids for Schools?
Yeah, so it's a suite of resources designed for primary school teachers and home educators. We got a lot more home educators than we thought we would, of course, in 2020 and 2021.
Yeah, indeed.
It's got 3 main components, but today I want to talk about just one of them. It's the classroom companion. So kids and parents and teachers all know that it is way more interesting to learn about punctuation or onomatopoeia or constructing complex sentences when it's fun and it's relevant and you're actually interested in the topic that you're doing it around. So that's why this classroom companion changes every day and uses the daily news to get kids excited about it.
So what does this classroom companion of yours involve?
Well, each day you and I have a chat about what's going to be in the next day's podcast, and we scour the news headlines, we look at websites, we listen to the radio, we watch the telly, and we make a plan for what you're going to talk about on the next day's podcast. And from that list, I choose one story and I create a series of activities that are aligned to the Australian primary school curriculum. And everyone who's signed up to Squiz Kids for Schools can then download and use them.
Okay, you said you create a series of worksheets, so it's more than one each day.
Yep, it's 3, in fact, because, in education world, there's a very important principle, and that's principle with P-L-E, not P-A-L, although, of course, there are a lot of very important principals out there too. But the principle I'm talking about is differentiation. So what that really means is that in any one school, in one classroom, in one family, there are students who need to work on different things. So For example, in our first week of term 2, we're going to be looking at punctuation, and students who use the Moon worksheets will be looking at capitals and commas and contractions. Our STAR students will pick up with contractions and then they'll move on to punctuating speech.
Yep.
And Sun students will be working with apostrophes, commas to separate clauses, and some other really challenging stuff.
Okay, so there's punctuation. What else?
Well, the Classroom Companion is 2 pages. The first page is always working with comprehension, and we really emphasise students having conversations with each other, of thinking critically, of making connections to the news. And then every week we have a secondary focus for page 2 that's on a language or literacy skill. So it might be grammar or vocabulary or text cohesion or spelling. So there's a term-long plan on the website so people can check. And then I also send an email to educators every afternoon letting them know just what's going to be going on in the next day's companion.
Okay, and so how do educators get their hands on the Classroom Companion each day?
Well, they're available in their dashboard on our website as a PDF. They can either print it off, but if they're a sufficiently sort of tech-enabled classroom, they are available as form-fillable PDFs, so they can assign them to student devices and save the paper.
And finally, 2 questions. Where can people get more information, and why all of a sudden do I sound like one of those infomercials on morning television?
I'm not sure I can help you with the second question, but the first one, anyone who wants to test out Squiz Kids for Schools and those Classroom Companions can sign up for a free 30-day trial, and if they sign up during the holidays, they get extra days, so 30 days of actual school time, either by visiting the website, squizkids.com.au, or by checking out the links in the episode notes to this podcast. And now I sound like an infomercial.
And anyone wanting a sneak peek of the Classroom Companion can access samples or a comprehensive FAQ on Squiz Kids for Schools, or watch a video on how it all works, which is also on the website, squizkids.com.au. Amanda, thank you for that. That's been enlightening.
Well, it's my very great pleasure.
Coming up in the next episode of Behind the Scenes, we're going to explain shortcuts, what they are, why we've created them, and how you can get them into your kid's life or classroom. For now, though, this is Bryce Corbett signing off and reminding you all to get out there and have a most excellent day. Amanda, will you do the honours?
Over and out.